Hi, and welcome to this live stream. It's a 15-minute long event, and I'm really happy that you're joining. To those of you joining live, I want to welcome you to put on your audio and also to make sure that you post any questions or comments that you might have. So please use that opportunity, and I will go through the comments as we go along. As you can see, I have a very short and small presentation alongside me today. So the key thing here is not to overwhelm you with content. I'm here to share some ideas, maybe give you a challenge, and hope to see you again a week from now for another 15 minutes if this topic is of interest to you. So first of all, I would love to just say very briefly, for those of you who haven't met me yet, I am not a psychologist. I'm not a behavioral scientist. I am a coach, and I've been working as a coach for the last decade or so. And along the way, this notion of unlearning has been really fascinating to me. And as I meet professionals, coaching them every week, I have come to see that there are certain findings and patterns and questions that might be helpful to others as well. So the topic of unlearning is very dear to me. Let us move on, and I would love to start off by sharing what unlearning is not. It's not about forgetting. It's not about putting things aside. It's more like actually being conscious about the choices and the decision that you make for alternative mental models. So that means we need to discover something about our habits, about our need to unlearn, and then we need to make conscious decisions as well in order to make sure that we can address them effectively. So that's very high level what unlearning is not and what it is. And of course, there are plenty of research being done in this space. So I encourage you to take part of that more in detail if this is of interest to you more in depth. But for now, let's aim at some of the things that I typically stumble upon when I meet with my clients and professionals and even friends during the weeks. We have come to see that this is important. We should actually become better at unlearning. Unlearning is, to some extent, the new black. We need to unlearn because reality has changed. The old models are not necessarily working anymore. They might not be relevant anymore. They might not be effective, which is why we need to adjust and to learn and to, I would say, make sure that we are conscious about the unlearning we need to do. So this is important because we could say that in the past, we were previously really great at setting and mastering certain models and maybe limits or ideas about how things work and what makes a successful project or a business result. But now a lot of those old models are up in the air, and we need to address it in a different way, adding new perspectives. We need to put some old thinking and learning aside and address this in a new way, which, for instance, has to do with how we work together in networking, by attending and encouraging ecosystems and share things in order to develop and to flourish in the business world. So with that, I would like to go on here and share a little bit about what I see when I meet people in this space. So we come along with a lot of values and ideas and sometimes limiting beliefs about who we are and what is important and what is right and how things work. And we bring these truths, sometimes myths, we bring these truths with us when we enter into the professional space. So for instance, in landing a new job, what is it like to land a new job? What does it take? How does it work today to land a new job? Do I have any habits that do not serve me anymore if I need to land a new job? And at the same time, building your own business. If you are starting off in building your own business, how that was successful maybe 2, 5, 10 years ago might not be applicable or even relevant today. There is a whole new game to understand and to tap into. So all of these truths might actually stop us from getting access to resources and getting access to the potential that's in there for us. And not at least also in your existing job, staying successful, being in demand, making sure that you are agile and able to embrace the new methods and new tools and the new way of collaborating is also really important. And then again, we will face areas for where we need to or should unlearn. So what does it take then to crack the code? Well, this is a very simplified version of it. And of course, there is so much more research behind this, but just to give it away here on a high level, I would like to mention a few things. So in order to crack the code, both for me personally, but also for others, I have put together 3 different things that could be of value to look into. And for instance, it's about really understanding the habits, being aware of your own habits. And then, secondly, make sure that you reflect about insights and new perspectives so you understand why this might not be effective or relevant anymore or even helpful. So through the insights and new perspectives, it doesn't really trigger action until we are in a position where we could consciously make those decisions to choose alternative mental models. So a lot of things have to happen here. We need some triggers and we need some encouragement and we need some reinforcement to make sure that this is turning into a new habit. We can't just take it away. We need to replace it with something else. And as we're speaking about these things, I would love to share just a few examples from my own life, both personal but also professionally, that could give you some ideas that might be inspirational to you as well to dig for your own sake. So, for instance, in the personal sphere, so to say, let's say I've been growing up in Scandinavia. I have learned from I was a small child until I was an adult, actually, that having 6 to 8 slices of bread every day was good for you. That has been the government type of messaging to the public for many, many years until it wasn't like that anymore. But that is a belief and that is a strong learning that needs to be unlearned if it shows up that it's not good for my body, for instance, to have 6 to 8 slices of bread every day. Different scenario also in the food area has to do with things that we discover might not be good for our bodies. Let's say I love nightshades, like I love tomatoes, I love eggplant, I love potatoes. And then I suddenly realized, no, they're not good for my body. So I need to unlearn using them and learn something else. And then I need to replace them. And these are very small, maybe tiny examples, but as you can say that there might be a lot of emotional attachment to these things, not because of the nourishment or because of the dish itself, but because they are memories, something you share with your family or friends, or something where you have a lot of attachment emotionally to certain scenarios. So these are not easily replaced unless you really make a firm decision to do so. Also, it can affect our social patterns. So let's say if you're used to being invited to a certain type of friends and you typically gather around a large bowl of moussaka, for instance, that is not my favorite place anymore. So I need to handle not only my own emotions and feelings and attachment to that specific dish, but also the implications for the social environment, the relationships, and what type of implications that might have for the people around me. So again, these were really, really small and easy examples to share, but also from the professional world. I would say that over the last decade, when I've been running my own business, when I've been learning and experiencing the effects of coaching and the work I do, uh, a lot of things have changed. A lot of things are not true anymore that used to be true 10 to 15 years ago. So, for instance, about sharing free content. That is nothing that was so common 10 to 15 years ago. We were much more protective. I even recall when I went through my first coaching curriculum, there were coaches on that curriculum who didn't want to share their best coaching questions because the the belief was that it was better to keep it to yourself in order to make a great performance and so on. And then along the way, we have learned how to not look for the constraints, but to open up and to be more in an ecosystem and share. And that is something we need to learn because until now, we have been incentivized, we have been rewarded by following the old models and the old truths. So again, in order to let that go, we need to replace it with something else where we also find meaningfulness and motivation and a new type of acknowledgement and recognition. So was just a small example again from the professional world. I will share some more, but let me know if you have any comments or questions. Just put it into the comments bar, and I will pick it up. So the key thing here is, in order to crack the code of becoming a better unlearner, we need to understand, discover the habits that are not serving ourselves anymore. We need to reflect and get insights about them. And finally, we need to make those conscious decisions and choices, which also might include people around us. So let me move on here. And this is a slide from a presentation I have used in the past when I've shared content here on LinkedIn. And I typically pick some examples from my own business life. So within the area of marketing, within the area of selling or delivery or even admin as a business owner, I have had to unlearn a lot during the last 11 years compared to what I grew up with and what I was incented by and rewarded by previously. So just for today, to pick an example today, I just thought I would mention something within the area of, actually it's a combination of selling and delivery. So I meet people that I support or work with on a frequent basis who are struggling with this. So how do I sell my services? How do I promote myself? How do I position myself? And I came, back in the early 2000s from a background where we should have something in place. It should be final before we were able to market it and sell it. So basically treating our customers as consumers. And that was a strong belief for a long time until I realized, also because I was approached by other people and also because I learned from watching other people be successful, that actually the best way of, in the B2B market at least, be of service is to see your customers, not as consumers, but as co-creators instead. So how do we do that? Well, one quick thing that comes to mind is that, of course, you need to provide a framework, you need to build a rapport, you need to build trust, and you need to be a number of steps ahead of your customer, naturally. But then again, how to fill that, how to add content that is really helpful and specific, why not involve them and co-create? And that is so rewarding for both parties. So that's something that I needed to relearn after having learned something else in the past. And that has helped me in my own business. And it's also helping other people that I work with in my current assignments. So I will actually use this simple framework to share more examples in the future. And I see time is running out. We are getting closer to the end of this short 15-minute, hopefully inspirational live stream. So let me just add a challenge. As I'm a coach, I sometimes would like to challenge the people tapping into my ideas and my thinking. And what I would like to challenge you on this week is actually to ask yourself this question: which habits are not serving you anymore? Could be in a personal life, it could be in your professional life. I'm sure you have at least a couple of them. So make a note of them, and maybe you get curious enough to start exploring that more, and maybe you will take some actions moving forward in that space. But you need to start with actually understanding, what are you continuing to do that is not serving you anymore? And if you have difficulties in discovery, why not involve a good friend or your better half or somebody you trust in the business world to explore that a bit more? It could be really helpful, and it will give you a good direction for something meaningful to focus on as we move into the next year. The final thing I would like to share with you is that next Tuesday, not Tuesday, but Thursday, every Thursday I'll go live here for the time being, and I will share another topic within the same area. And this time I will title this "The Shortcut to Becoming Good at Unlearning." This could be very, very complicated and difficult, but we could also make it easy for ourselves, and we can start being curious about ourselves. So with that, I hope you will be back next week, and if not, you're able to pick this up via the recording later on. And I can see here a few comments. So for those of you who would like to stay a few more minutes, I will be online and I will comment them directly. So I can see here, you can see that Atara is making comment here about this personal information is making this so understandable. And it's all about not complicating things. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It could be a small thing that is draining our energy, or just pulling it ourselves out of our potential flow, and what we can really accomplish if we are making the most of our own potential. So thank you, Atara, for sharing that. And also I have a comment here from Magdalena. And Magdalena thinks that unlearning an old knowledge is crucial to being able to generate new ideas. And I know Magdalena is a specialist in the idea generation and brainstorming area. And I couldn't agree more. And this is also about how our brain works and what we need to do in order to become better at understand how we are learning and what we need to do to unlearn and then relearn. And this will only be, I would say, more and more important as the world is moving in a very high pace, and we have lots of changes, transformations, disruption coming. We need to be better at unlearning. And also I get a comment here from Helene, which thinks this is an interesting theme, and I thank you for that. And then I hope that the next week theme will also be really inspiring, because there are some shortcuts. I've found them already. So I'll be sharing more about that next week. And thank you so much for being part of this today. I hope you will be back, and look forward to getting more comments if you like, and hope to see you again in a week from now. Take care and have great unlearning during the next upcoming week. Bye.